may argue that the president has become uncharacteristically very quiet at a time when his voice could help. Why do you think he is silent, and do you think that's the best way to go, given the fact that he has previously commented on the ability of some of these cabinet members to actually do the job?
He is silent because we criticized him as Kenya. Remember last year where people were saying he's a super minister. He's in charge of this, he keeps abreast on the other, and this and that. Therefore, I don't know, this is not a conversation that I've had with him, but I think as a leader, if you're told you're too involved that even the people you've charged with the mandate are not being seen, then you step back so that you allow people to execute their mandate. Observing the president between January of this year and now that we're in April, I think that's the approach that he has decided to take on many of these issues, which is to allow members of his cabinet and the ministries that they lead to battle with the issues that are before them, so that eventually the only place he meets with them is in cabinet. They do their presentation, either they agree with what they are proposing or disagree, but then allows them the space, because people said, I thought it was a good thing. When you're CEO...
That style of leadership.
Yes, when you're CEO, you need to know all your departments and how they work, from finance to human resource to marketing to research and development. But then if people insist and say, no, step back a bit so that the heads of those departments can be seen, and they run it. So I felt he has done well. The one thing that I kept on speaking about, I've said it on the floor, and I have mentioned to him in private, and I know it's not something that he can be mad if I speak about it publicly, because in any case my views are public on this, is that I felt we were still living way beyond our means. And therefore I was extremely excited last week when I saw the resolutions of the meeting that they had with the state departments and the leadership therein. First of all, asking them to reduce on the budget, because I kept on saying, and I say this even this year when we had our inaugural parliamentary group meeting that was attended by cabinet, that it doesn't make sense for me while we are doing a 3 trillion budget, yet we know for a fact that we don't have that kind of money. We need to live within our means. And I kept on saying that. I was glad, as we speak today, you know, this is a budget season, and we had done the budget policy statement, usual way, but each state department has been asked to reduce their expenditure by 30%. And that is a step in the right direction, because it's not just a revenue problem. It's more of an expenditure issue more than even the revenue side. We must reduce the expenditure side. There's just too much that we are doing. And I don't want to sound cliche and say wastage. It's not necessarily wastage. It's important, but can you do it now? It's what you and I do when we find ourselves in a difficult financial situation. Even if you want to pay for your cable television, if this month you didn't make as much, you just stay and follow the results online. You don't have to watch the game.
All right.
You know? So I am impressed that that is finally being done. Yet I know it's not an easy fight. Until that appropriation is passed here on the floor of the assembly with a 30% reduction, then I'll be glad and happy and say that finally fiscal responsibility is taking shape. And I'm glad that as president, he has taken lead on that project, because I can tell you, there is nobody else who can do it. That is a job that only he can. And I'm happy that he's finally doing that.
Senator, any final words as we conclude?
I am just pleading that there are 2 programs which are very dear to us as a Kenya Kwanza administration. And we must do everything within our powers to ensure that they succeed. One, the universal health coverage. What do I mean by everything within our powers? We have passed the legislation. But now looking back, I feel there's something that we missed out. We must make it extremely difficult and punish as punitively as possible anybody who tries to mess that program by pilfering the funds that you're going to raise. Because good initiatives in this country, unfortunately, have died at the altar of corruption. Mm-hmm. And you know very well that that is a national struggle that we battle with, administration after the other, including our administration. It is my conviction that perhaps later on this year, if there's a part of those legislations that we need to still tighten, mm-hmm. is to make it impossible, and if you dare, make it impossible by putting deterrent measures, including even death penalty. Because there are many citizens, Fred, that their lives completely become shattered the minute a family member falls sick. And you know medication is extremely expensive in this country. Okay. UHC, in the structure that we did, remember there is a chronic and critical illness fund that we created, for example, that now, once that fund is set up, if a family member, unfortunately, say, has cancer, we don't have to sell everything that we have, as is the case right now. Mm-hmm. They'll make